Hello, everyone, and welcome to the concurrent sessions of our 2020 annual meeting. I know this is probably not the way anyone expected this year's event to look, but I really want to thank all of you out there for tuning in today. This session is using APIs to increase Alma workflow efficiency, and I'll be joined today by Tammy Heading and Joel Shields from WRLC. This presentation is pre-recorded, but we are live and on the line to answer any questions you may have at the end, and I hope that we'll have 5 to 7 minutes for questions. So last year at the annual meeting, Tammy and I did a presentation called Do More and Click Less. It was about some of the early action we were taking to improve upon the issues that we had found with using Alma to accession material into the SCF. This year we're going to talk about the developments and improvements we've made since that time. But for anyone who didn't join us last year, I'm going to start with a brief recap. As we all learned soon after migration, Alma is very clicky, especially when compared to Voyager, and much of that is because of its web-based interface. That clickiness resulted in much slower processing times when accessioning new materials into the SCF. In Voyager, we used keyboard macros in the client software to quickly add the location and inventory information. Alma required clicking through various screens, waiting for pages to load, and a lot of other inefficiencies. One of the features, though, that made Alma very attractive to us in the beginning was the existence of a relatively powerful set of APIs. We knew that we should be able to use those APIs to get records and make changes to records, and we soon realized this could allow us to bypass the web interface altogether to alleviate some of those clickiness problems that we were seeing. That thinking has led to the adoption and further development of something we are calling AllMagic. And some of you may have already seen this or had an opportunity to work with it. It's a suite of applications based on work done at the University of Kentucky that can be used to make a variety of changes to your data without having to log into your IZ or the SCF IZ. It's ideal for working across IZs or for creating workflows for simple tasks that you can give to students or temporary workers without having to worry about giving them the keys to the kingdom in terms of cataloging power. As you can see at the bottom of this page, we have a specific section for SCF utilities. So, the good news is that these utilities we created solved the problem on the left. The bad news is that once we dug ourselves out of the mountain of unprocessed materials from the time just after going live, we found the problem on the right. It was very hard to import materials from the owning IZ to the SCF IZ. The new bottleneck was that we had run out of things to scan. Instead of having a big pile of books, we had a big pile of boxes. So when we moved to Alma, Tammy and I created a series of videos explaining the accessions process and workflows to Ex Libris. Their solution that they came back with was to use the publishing and import profiles in Alma to publish items out of the owning IZ and then import them to the SCF IZ. And that sounded like a great idea to us. We didn't know anything about Alma. There's just one problem. This strategy doesn't really work. Publishing and import profiles, they weren't designed for this. They're great for publishing records to OCLC or importing records from OCLC or importing records from your digital asset management platform like Islandora, but it's not great for internal movement between IZs. Some of that is because of bugs in the import profile, some that have been fixed, some that haven't. Some of the problem comes from multi-match merge issues, and some of it is poor handling of serials, which we have a ton of in the SCF. What it all meant was that WRLC accession staff was kind of waiting around to have more stuff to accession, and that newly arriving material from your universities was waiting in boxes in the climate-controlled modules until we could figure out how to get it into the SCF IZ. So when I took over as the new Bruce in the summer of last year, we needed to quickly confront this new bottleneck. We had solved the scanning speed problem, that was good, but it just uncovered other ways in which Alma and our local configuration of the SCF IZ were not optimized for success. Those bottlenecks were costing all of us in our ability to deliver rapid turnaround on accessioning. Your materials were taking too long to get on the SCF shelves, but they were also costing WRLC in very real dollars. We charge our partners 75 cents to accession each monograph. This price has been the same for a long time, in part because we can offset our increases in staffing costs with increases in productivity. And that 75-cent charge attempts to accurately reflect the process in more. It attempts to accurately reflect the amount of resources and processes required to get your material on the shelf. Tammy will talk about that process in more detail in a minute. But what this roughly breaks down to is it's a metric that dictates that for every temporary worker we bring on staff, we need to accession enough material to cover that person's salary. If we don't cover that cost, we're running at a deficit, which is not the place any organization wants to be. This obligatory ugly code slide, it doesn't look like much, but it reflects the beautiful solution to that second bottleneck problem of adding material to the SCFIZ. In working first with Ian Hardy and later with Kathy Kilduff, we were able to use APIs again to basically build new records in the SCFIZ from records in the network zone and the owning IZ. And I'm not going to get too much into the weeds here, but basically the script loops over a set of barcodes and builds them in the SCFIZ by creating a bib and then a holding and then an item record if they're needed in the SCFIZ. It does that by communicating back and forth quite a bit. And for that reason, the script isn't lightning fast, but certainly fast enough for our purposes. If we receive a list of new materials for accession on a Friday, the records will be in place and ready for processing by Monday. Thus far, we've been working hard to take advantage of Alma's features, like a rich API set, to make these workflows as fast as they were in Voyager, and I think we've been very successful in that. We can now use the AllMagic suite to scan materials quickly. We have an app that will add new materials for accession to our institution zone. Those solutions had a dramatic and positive impact on our ability to quickly accession materials, and they allowed us to not lose money or have to raise costs for accessioning. But those are just two of the actions in place at the SCF. Why couldn't we use these tools like APIs or analytics data to make the workflows even faster than they were in Voyager? After all, we went to Alma for things to be more than just as good as Voyager. We want them to be better. So this next phase of development is what Joel Shields will discuss next. Thanks a lot. But first, here's Tammy Henning with more detail about how we accession materials into the SCF these days.